Hello and welcome back to another week of Open Mic Night. Really glad that you guys made it back. Tonight is going to be all about home networking, how to get your network in your home working to the best of its ability. It's going to be a really fun show. I'm really excited about it. And you know what? Let's just jump right into it. All right, like I said, so glad that you guys are back. If you noticed, my normal start screen didn't go there. If you guys are watching this on the video, I am having if you guys watched last week, if you watched it live, I edited it out for the podcast and for the YouTube version later. But if you were joining me live last week, you noticed that I was having all sorts of audio problems. And actually, my audio went out for a good, 2 minutes during the show. And luckily, I had the live chat room here telling me that the audio went out. But right before the show started, I had the same exact problem. I couldn't get audio into my live stream. So first of all, sorry for the late start, but I think everything is running good now. I think we should all be set. So what are we going to talk about tonight? Tonight is going to be all about home networking. Basically, I'm going to give you the ins and outs, the nerdy details, but I'm going to make pretty much home networking. I'm going to try and make it as simple as possible for you, but I'm also going to go into enough detail that you guys can get the maximum speeds, the maximum utility out of your home wireless or wired network. But first, I want to cover some news stories, and I kind of want to do some clarification, stuff like that. So first thing is that some of you may have received this weekend a newsletter from me. It would have been in the form of an email. And pretty much what I did is that if you guys have emailed me questions in the past, if you guys have asked me something, I added you to this list. And every week now I am sending out a weekly newsletter. And so if you guys, first of all, if you want to be on this newsletter, if you didn't get a newsletter from me on Saturday, and if you want to get one, head over to WegerTech.com, and actually, if you're watching live right now, the sign up is right below it, right below the live feed. But if you guys are watching this later, or if you listen to the podcast or on YouTube, you guys can head over to WegerTech.com, and over there, there's a WegerTech.com/update, or on the left-hand side, there's a newsletter button, and you guys can sign up to receive this. So I had a great response for the newsletter. A lot of people email me back saying they love the update, they love kind of seeing that sort of stuff. In the newsletter, I give you kind of what happened in Open Mic Night over the past week and a link to watch it. And I give you guys a tip of the week and just some other things that are going on with Uyghur Tech. It's a really good way for me to communicate with you guys, especially because, I'm only talking to you guys for an hour each week. So in the newsletter, I cover some stuff that I can't really cover with you guys on the show. But one point of clarification I wanted to do, I had a lot of questions regarding the Amazon affiliate program, which is pretty much my Uyghur Tech Scholarship Fund. So if you guys have heard me talk about it, if you follow me on Twitter, or if you got that newsletter and you saw the Uyghur Tech Scholarship Fund, a lot of people didn't really know what it was, and they said that the description was kind of vague. And so I just kind of wanted to give you guys a quick little, update or reminder on what exactly this is. And so Jim Collison is a fellow podcaster here in Omaha that I recently started listening to and following, and he does a lot of really cool stuff over on theaverageguy.tv. You guys can check him out over there, theaverageguy.tv. But pretty much what he does is he has a scholarship program as well. And what he does is through Amazon, you can sign up to be an affiliate. All that means is that I'm going to refer people to Amazon. So I'm going to tell you guys, if you guys want to buy something, go buy it on Amazon. And then what they do is they give you a link. And so if I tell someone, hey, go to Amazon, but when you go to Amazon, click on this link for me, and this will take you to Amazon. Pretty much all that does is Amazon says, oh, hey, this link tells me that Mike over at Uyghur Tech sent them over here. And then whatever you buy, it doesn't add on to the price. It doesn't give you an option for donation. All it does is Amazon gives me a percentage of that item that you bought. So however much you pay for the item, I just get a small percentage of it. So for you guys don't even notice anything different. If you guys head on over to WegerTech.com/Amazon, and if I said Audible in the past, I meant Amazon. I mix those up all the time, but Amazon affiliate. But if you guys go over to WegerTech.com, here's the website, WegerTech.com/Amazon, that'll just take you right to the Amazon site. You guys almost won't even notice that you went through me. But then anything you buy while you just clicked on that link, I get a percentage of. Now, the next question that people asked me was, why do you call it a scholarship fund? What does that mean? What are you doing with this money? Basically, what I'm going to do, and this is totally mimicked after Jim Collison's idea. I really liked his idea, and so I pretty much just copied it. They say copying is the greatest form of flattery, right? And so what this scholarship fund does is any money that I receive. Obviously you guys are generating this by you guys buying stuff on Amazon. And when you do that, if you use my link, obviously I get some of that money. What this is going to do is I want to help out fellow podcasters, fellow tech people that follow Uyghur Tech. And so maybe there's some other college kids like me out there who want to get started into podcasting or want to get started into some sort of YouTube content creation, something like that, but they don't have the means to go out and buy a microphone, a webcam, stuff like that. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be choosing some people that, ask for it. So if you guys send me an email saying, hey, I really want to try this out, I want this product, is it possible? If we have accumulated enough funds in this scholarship fund, I'm going to buy that item and I'm going to ship it to that person. And that person gets to keep it. So they get to keep the item. The only thing I ask is that they just come on the show, make a quick appearance. Maybe they send a video in of them using the product, how they're using this new technology, stuff like that. And I think it's a really fun way to get the community involved with each other. So if you guys buy stuff on Amazon, and I know probably most of you do, I buy almost everything on Amazon. If you just go to WuyghurTech.com/Amazon, that'll take you to Amazon, and then anything you buy when you do that will be credited to me. I will get it'll tell Amazon pretty much that I sent you there. So, and then all that money goes back into Uyghur Tech, back into the community, and other people are going to be able to use it. And then at the end of the year, if we have anything left over, which I hope we don't, I hope we get enough requests, and I hope we make enough money that can help out a bunch of people. If we do have anything left over, I'll do kind of one final announcement, see if I can help anyone out, and then all of the rest will go back into Uyghur Tech, into making this podcast better, into paying for the website, stuff like that. But none of it is going to go to me personally. I'm not going to take a cut of it. I'm not going to take any of this money and using it for personal uses outside of helping the Uyghur Tech community or on my own podcast. So that's just a quick clarification on what this whole Amazon Uyghur Tech scholarship thing is. So again, WuyghurTech.com/Amazon. It'll take you right there. If you guys just want to bookmark that link, if you guys want to bookmark WuyghurTech.com/Amazon and then use that as your link to Amazon instead of typing in Amazon, you click on that link, that'd be awesome because everything you buy in there would help out Uyghur Tech. So if you want to, that's great. If you don't, I understand. It's just another option, another way to connect this Uyghur Tech community, which is growing rapidly. It's really fun to see the numbers start ramping up. I'm starting to get a lot more questions and stuff like that. And so it's a lot of fun. And so that is the clarification there. Next thing I want to tell you guys about is if you guys do have tech questions, I've always told you, you guys are more than welcome to email me, mike@WuyghurTech.com. Seriously, email me. It's no problem at all. I love responding back to those, and I'll try and do that as fast as possible. But you guys can also head on over to Facebook.com/WuyghurTech, and you can post your questions there. But the newest thing I just did is I created a Google Plus community. So if you guys are on Google Plus, I know probably most of you aren't, but there are some good communities out there. If you head on over to WuyghurTech.com/G+, and it's actually the plus symbol, the addition symbol, that'll take you over to our community, and you can post questions there. And the cool thing about Google Plus, the cool thing about if you go over there, is that anyone else in the community can respond to your questions. On Facebook, since it's a page, I think really I'm the only one that can kind of respond to you and stuff like that. But on the Google Plus community, it's a community of people. It's exactly what it means. And if you post a question, I can answer it, or someone else in the community, if they have an answer for you, they can answer it as well. So those are just two quick updates and clarifications that I wanted to get on to you guys. But let's move on to the news, right? Okay, enough about Uyghur Tech. Let's just move on to the news. Well, okay, so last week you guys know that the Apple announcement occurred, and I streamed that night, open mic night 26, number 26, this is number 27. Number 26 was me just talking all about the Apple announcement and everything that went on there. And so obviously, you kind of have the Apple event hangover. You kind of get this feeling of, oh man, well that was such a fun week and I prepared so much for it, but now it's over. And so now I can kind of give you guys some of the next step news, the things that maybe happened after the announcement. And so on Friday, the actual pre-order for the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus occurred, and I was really confused. I probably should have done more research. On the website, it said that pre-order started at 8 a.m., and I'm not sure what time zone they chose for 8 a.m. I'm guessing it was maybe over in England or something like that. I'm not sure, because by the time I got on there and pre-ordered one for somebody, and in Omaha time, I got on at 7:30 thinking, oh, maybe, they'll be early and something like that. I was honestly thinking 8 o'clock California time, which would be 10 o'clock my time. I got on at 7:30, and I'm already 3 weeks out of a delay. So the phone that I ordered for someone is not shipping out this Friday. It's not even shipping out till mid-October. But along with the whole pre-order process, there was a huge kind of crash of the Apple system. Everyone trying to get on early that morning to order the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus were having a lot of troubles. They were getting kicked out, good kind of booted because there wasn't enough pretty much bandwidth to host all these people that are pre-ordering the phones. And there was apparently a lot of issue with stock levels and inventory levels being wrong and saying they had it when they didn't. But sadly, this just kind of goes on to this kind of muffed rollout, this muffed fall announcement for Apple. I talked to you guys last week about how the live stream for the event was a complete train wreck, and no news there because it happened. But yeah, so the live stream was a train wreck, and then the pre-order process was really difficult. But to be fair, the pre-order process is a really hard one to handle. You're taking orders, you're processing credit cards, you're doing all that sort of stuff, and you're doing it at a super high volume. A lot of people are getting on there to order their iPhones, and so it can be expected that didn't go as well. But it only lasted for about, I think an hour. For the first hour, it was a little iffy, but I had no problems. I got on and had mine ordered within 30 seconds. So that was the kind of the iPhone launch and kind of what went on there. So if you guys did get on really early in the morning on last Friday and you did order your iPhone 6, they are shipping this Friday. And then, of course, this Friday or Thursday night or Wednesday night, you guys might even see people lining up outside your local Apple stores to get the iPhone 6. Because if you didn't pre-order it, you can still go to the store and wait in the huge line for Friday morning when they open, because they will have an inventory of phones to sell at that time as well. And that's always exciting for me. I've always wanted to do it. But of course, as I've gotten old enough to go out and do the whole camping out and waiting out for the iPhone thing, I've had school and I have class and work, and I just haven't been able to do it. So hopefully in the future, when I have a little more flexibility with my schedule, I'll actually be able to go wait in line for one of these products. If any of you guys are going to wait in line for the new iPhone 6, send me some pictures. Tweet at me at WegerTech. I'll put that up here. If you don't follow me on Twitter, just tweet me a picture. I'd love to see those. I always follow Twitter on those mornings just to see the crazy lines for these events. I saw a picture last week, actually, of the store out in New York that there's already people camping out last week before the announcement even happened. So I think it was Monday, people are lining up, and they were lining up for a product that wasn't even announced yet. So I'm not sure if those people are still there. I'm not sure if it was a hoax or not, but still really entertaining either way. And that's kind of what I love about Apple, is Apple's fans are so passionate. And to be honest, Samsung and a lot of those other people kind of mock the Apple fans waiting in line. In all their commercials, you've seen the Samsung people walking up to Apple people while they're waiting in line. But I like that. When you have a product that people are willing to go camp out for 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights in order to be the first ones to have this product, it's just fun. We can have arguments on whether the iPhone 6 is the best phone on the market or not, and if it's actually worth it waiting in line. But it's fun, and it adds a lot of excitement to Apple, and that community there is just really fun to see. And so I always love watching that, and so that'll be interesting to see on Friday morning. But besides the iPhone launch, tomorrow, Wednesday, if you guys are watching, I don't know when you guys are watching this, but Wednesday of this week, tomorrow for me right now, is when iOS 8 is launched. And it's rumored to be launched at 10 a.m. Pacific time, which would be noon Central time and 1 p.m. on the East Coast. But yeah, 10 a.m. in California. And that is when the iOS 8 is going to launch. That's when you guys are going to be able to update your phones and your iPads and all that stuff to iOS 8. Now, on the phone side, it goes all the way back to the iPhone 4S. So if you have an iPhone 4S or newer, then you are going to be able to update to iOS 8. And on the iPad, it goes all the way back to the iPad 2. So as long as you don't have an original first generation iPad, then you guys all will be able to update to iOS 8. Really exciting. I'm going to be doing a lot of in-depth reviews on iOS 8 and Yosemite. So tomorrow when iOS 8 comes out, hopefully sometime this week or probably more likely this weekend, I'll get some reviews out there for you guys and kind of give you guys the runner on how it works and how it looks, stuff like that. On the Mac side, when it comes to Yosemite, I'll sometimes wait a few weeks, let them get all the bugs out until they maybe have a 0.1 update. But on iOS, on the phone, on the iPad, I just can't resist. I update as soon as I can. I can guarantee you at noon tomorrow, I will be that guy who is bogging down the Wi-Fi network at the school or work to update my phone to iOS 8. That's just who I am. I love it. I love when these new software packages come out every single year. And so tomorrow, iOS 8 at 10 a.m. Pacific time. is when that is coming out. So I just want to let you guys know to be ready for that. But usually you might have to, in order to update your phone, go into settings on the main screen, go to settings, and then, actually I'm going to look at this because now I am just now forgetting where exactly it is. But I think it's under, okay, so settings, and then tap on the general and click on the software update, and that is how you guys can access the update. It will prompt you eventually, usually when your phone is plugged in and on Wi-Fi, so usually probably tomorrow night or Thursday, your phone will prompt you saying, hey, there's an update available, but if you want it right away, you can go in and click those buttons, and it'll prompt you to download the update right away. So that is really all the news I wanted to cover, because tonight my main topic that I wanted to cover with you guys was home networking. And the reason I wanted to cover it, I was kind of debating on what kind of topic to cover with you guys tonight. And I have been responding to emails over the last, I'd say 8 months, I'd say since January, and I've gotten quite a few emails on home networking. Now, a lot of this is because I have a YouTube video on how to connect your Xbox and do port forwarding to get it connected to Xbox Live in a better way. And so a lot of emails revolve around the Xbox and networking and stuff like that. But a lot of people, I had an email from Jeff in Michigan, so hey Jeff, about just generic home networking, and he just had pretty much some broad questions about what the best way he's setting up. He just moved into a new home, and he wanted to know kind of the basics on what to look for when he's setting up these home networks. So tonight, I'm going to kind of walk you through step by step some of the main issues, the main things about your home network, and I'm going to try and educate you guys just a little bit. My goal is that you guys learn 3 new things tonight. So 3 new things I hope you guys can take away from tonight and say, hey, I might apply that to my home network. Or you'll check your home network and be like, man, I'm all good. I'm all set. I have it all ready to go. So where we start with home networking is obviously how the internet comes into the home. And so when it comes into the home, and actually I'm going to pause right here real quick. I forgot to put up the call number. If you guys want to call in live to the show, if you guys have any questions, call me. The number is 402-413-0067, and you guys will be live on the air, and I can answer your questions. So if I'm talking about something in this home networking, tonight is a really good topic for you guys to call in on. No such thing as a stupid question. The only thing I ask is that you guys keep it family friendly. It's a family friendly show. But yeah, call in anytime, interrupt me, and call in, and I will put you live on the show, and we can talk to you. Or if you don't feel comfortable calling, that's fine. If you are watching live right now, you can hop in the chat room, and I can answer your questions there. And so that's weakertech.com/live. And in case you guys are watching this on YouTube, you can head over to that website, and you guys can be in on the chat room. So yeah, call me anytime. Don't worry about interrupting me. So like I said, the first step when we talk about home networking is how is the internet brought into your home? And usually that is over a cable modem. Now, I'm going to be focusing on cable modem networks today. I know some of you might be still on DSL or even dial-up, but most people nowadays, and if you are watching this stream, it is most likely that you guys have cable, because honestly, if you guys had anything below that, you might not even be able to stream me and watch me live. But I am just going to be focusing on the cable modems. So when the cable comes into your home, you guys need a modem in order to take that coax cable, the copper cable, and pretty much give it Ethernet and put it out to the rest of your network. In an off sense, the modem does a lot more than that, but that's what the modem does. It pretty much is your gateway out into the internet. That's what your modem is. It's actually called a gateway. And somebody, if you hear someone refer to a gateway, what is your gateway? That is your gateway. It's your modem. Usually these modems are given to you by your cable company. But the thing I want to kind of talk to you guys, the reason I brought this aspect up is because a lot of people, what they don't know is that you guys are actually being charged. If your cable company gives you your modem, and nowadays sometimes even your modem and router, which we'll get to in a second, are all in one, but especially if your cable company gives you your modem, you are paying to rent that each month. Sometimes it's $5, sometimes it's $10, but you guys are paying on a monthly basis to use that modem. Now that's fine, but if you guys stick with the same modem for a long time, it might be cheaper to go out and buy your own modem. And so basically when you're going out and buying your own modem, the thing I want to talk to you guys about, is the difference between DOCSIS 2.0 and DOCSIS 3.0. Now, DOCSIS is just all caps DOCIS, and I'm going to admit to you guys I don't know what that stands for, but a DOCSIS 2.0 or a DOCSIS 3.0. And a lot of the cable modems, if you got cable a while ago, if you got internet a while ago from your cable company and you have never upgraded your modem, it is highly likely that you are running a DOCSIS 2.0 cable modem. but it is also highly likely that they have upsold you in the recent years in order to get you on a faster data speed tier. And so if you guys have a DOCSIS 2.0 modem, and you guys can check on the back of your modems, you'll have a sticker and it'll say what DOCSIS it is, if it's DOCSIS 2.0 or 3.0. So the biggest difference between DOCSIS 2.0 and 3.0 is if you guys think of channels as a way to get to the internet. DOCSIS 2.0 has one channel to get out and back in. Whereas DOCSIS 3, it can use multi-channel bonding, which means that you guys can have multiple channels all grouped together to get you your internet. Now, obviously that means it's going to be faster and more reliable speeds for you because you're using multiple channels instead of just one. This is by far the biggest speed upgrade, I think, one of them. There's two things that I think will really speed up your guys' network. But this is one of the ones that I think is the best. And so you guys that have a DOCSIS 2.0 modem, ask your cable company. If you do rent from your cable company, they will upgrade you for free. And so say, hey, I want the DOCSIS 3.0 modem. I have a really old one. Usually they will upgrade you for free. And your speeds, you will see a massive speed increase if you pay for the higher tier. Now, obviously, if you're only paying for 5 megabits down, stick with the DOCSIS 2.0. But a lot of us are paying for maybe 10, 20. I actually get 60 here where I'm at. They just doubled the speeds. I used to get 30 megabits per second down. Now I get 60 megabits per second down. And I can tell you, if you have anything more than about 10 or 15, upgrade to that DOCSIS 3.0 modem. And so your modem is how you get internet into your house. And so I want to respond real quick to a comment in the chat room. Friend Anthony says he talked to an Apple employee who said that there might be a traffic jam, quote unquote, tomorrow when you're downloading iOS 8. Pretty much what Anthony's referring to is that when you go to download it, you might go super slow because of the high volume of people trying to download the update from Apple's servers. And that is very true. Very good point, Anthony. If you are going to get on right at 10 a.m. Pacific time and you're going to download, expect it to take a long time. There's a cost, you're going to get it. You're going to be one of the first ones to get it, but it's going to take a long time. Sometimes what I would suggest to you guys is if you guys don't really care when you get it, if it doesn't matter to you, wait till tomorrow night or even Thursday. By tomorrow night, though, I guarantee speeds will be a lot better. But very good point, Anthony, that if you do it tomorrow morning, expect slow speeds. So thank you for Anthony in the chat room. So that's kind of fun. That's what I'm referring to the chat room, guys. If you guys want to join this, come on over Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. Central Time, WegerTech.com/live. That's what we're doing right now. Anyway, so we just talked about the modem, which is how internet gets into your house, and we talked about making sure that you guys upgrade to a DOCSIS 3.0 modem. And I'm going to put all this in the description of this video after I talk about it. I kind of want to talk about it first, see what we got to, and then I'll put all these in the show notes. And so if you guys missed anything or if you guys want to refer back to this video, I'm going to put all this down. But the second thing that we're going to talk about is, so once your internet comes into your house through your modem, the next piece of hardware you guys have is a router. Now, like I said, sometimes if you guys have your cable modem given to you by your company, by your ISP, then they might combine your modem and router into the same box. So it might be the same thing. But in general, it's the same concept no matter what. You need a modem to get internet in, and then your router is what handles and sends the traffic all over your network. So all your computers, even if they're Wi-Fi computers, if connected via wireless, or if they're wired via Ethernet, they are connecting to this router. Your router's pulling in the internet from the modem and distributing it out to the network. Now, we're going to get a little deeper into that in a little bit, but pretty much what I wanted to cover with you guys is the difference between a wired Ethernet network and a wireless network. And so if you guys have a router, it is most likely nowadays that you guys have wireless. Wireless is pretty standard. It's something that most people have, but a lot of people like me love the reliability of having an Ethernet cord running from our router to our computer. It's more stable, it doesn't drop out as much, and it can be faster in certain regards if you have the right setup. And so basically, when I'm talking about wireless versus wired, the difference is going to be reliability, but also speed. So the thing I want to get into, first we're going to deal with a wired network. Now, when you guys buy these routers, a lot of times they will have markings on them, and they will say 10/100, or they will say 10/100/1000. And a lot of people don't know what that is. That was actually one of the questions I got emailed to me was, hey, what's the difference when it says 10/100 or 10/100/1000? What that means is that is referring to how fast that router can send traffic and receive traffic on your wired network. 10/100 means that it can go up to 100 megabits per second. So 100 megabits per second, that's how fast data can be transferred from each device, because it's connected on this router. Now, the new standard, which is 10/100/1000, this is referred to as gigabit. And so when I'm talking about this, I'm just going to refer to it from here on out as gigabit speeds, because 1000 is 1000 megabits per second. Now, I know technically it's 1024, but 1000 megabits per second, so gigabit speed. The only thing I wanted to cover with this wired access is that you guys some people are like, man, I'm wired, I'm directly connected to my router, but I get way faster speeds when I'm on wireless. If you guys have one of the newer routers, I'd say last year's model, not this year's are updated, but last year's models, a lot of them have what's called 802.11n wireless. And that wireless can go up to speeds of 300 megabits per second. Now, those same routers, and I'm in this same exact boat, I have an Airport Express. And even the current gen models, I have the current Airport Express, it has 802.11n, so I can get 300 megabits per second transfer speeds when I'm on wireless. But when I'm on wired, the wired ports, and this is really important, this is why you want to check it, because you're going to run into bottlenecks. The wired ports on the Airport Express and a lot of other routers are only 10/100 or 100 megabits per second. So I still wire my computer to my network because honestly, my internet coming in and going out is only 60, so I'm not even hitting that speed, and I'm never transferring files between computers on my network too often. So I love the reliability of an Ethernet cord because it is a lot more reliable, even though it's going to be significantly slower maximum speeds. But obviously, like I said, when I'm doing internet's only coming in at 60 megabits per second, so I'm getting the full internet speed I can get. I might just not be able to transfer a file from one computer to another on my network as fast. And so basically the takeaway of when you're looking at routers, first of all, what you want to look at is the wired network ports and how fast they are. From going here on out, you really should just pay a little bit more money and get the gigabit router, because as files start to get bigger, as our internet speeds get faster, you kind of want to prep your network for the future, and gigabit is definitely the way to go. And you guys don't want to bottleneck yourselves with the speeds of the router. For example, I have my router going into a big switch. I only have one Ethernet port on my router. That goes into a big switch with all my ports plugged into it, and that's a gigabit switch, which is great. So all my things plugged into it, those can talk at gigabit, but once it goes back into that router, let's say to go into Wi-Fi, so if I'm talking to a computer that's on Wi-Fi coming into that router, everything coming out of that router is only going at 100 megabits per second. It can't go any faster because the wired network port can't go any faster than that, even though I have a gigabit switch attached to that. So it gets really complicated, and I should have drawn up diagrams. I should have made, instead of this background, I should have had a whiteboard, and I should have been drawing all this stuff. But basically what I want to tell you guys is when you guys are buying new routers, just make sure you have gigabit ports, because it's going to be really important in the future, and it's the way a lot of things are connecting nowadays. A little side note on that, not every device that has an Ethernet port has a gigabit port. So ports on your router can be limited, but also ports on your computer. On my new computer, on my iMac that I'm using right now, that has a gigabit port. On my old laptop that I use as my second computer, that only has a 10/100 port, so it's a lot slower. So it gets really confusing on all these different devices, but when you're buying a router, just go with the gigabit speeds, and it'll definitely help you guys out. So with this router, though, one thing that you guys can check, I have a lot of people, when they tell me their internet speeds are way slow, and what they tell me is, hey, I am paying for 50 megabits down, I only get 15, I only get 20. Why is that? Now, one, that could be the building you're in, maybe the cabling is old and stuff like that, but more likely than not, it's the hardware in your home or your apartment or wherever you're at. So we talked about upgrading to a DOCSIS 3 modem, that'll definitely help. But a lot of times I look at these people and I say, well, what wireless router are you using? What router are you using? And this is for wireless, not wired. So we're going to talk about just wireless right now. And like, oh, it says 802.11a or 802.11g. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, those routers are very common. And people, a lot of times, they don't think about updating their network. They don't think about updating their hardware. But if you are using an A or G router, if it says 802.11a or G, the max it can do is 54 megabits per second, and that's a max speed. And so if you guys upgrade to an 802.11n router, which is what I have, it's what's pretty common right now, that's going to get you up to 300 megabits per second over the wireless. And then now there's this brand new standard that you guys don't need to worry about yet, but if you guys are buying a new router and want it, 802.11 AC. So AC routers, those can get up to 1300 megabits per second. And so the one thing, if you guys are experiencing really slow network speeds, check your router and see, is it an 802.11, is it an 802.11a or is it an 802.11g? If it's either of those, consider upgrading to an 802.11n router. And again, I know I'm throwing out a lot of different, N, A, G, all that stuff, but all this will be in the show notes after the show, so you guys can always go back and refer to it. But those two things are going to be what are dramatically increase your speed out to the internet. So if you guys are experiencing that, go and check those out. Check those two things out and see what you have, and that'll more than likely speed up your network. So I had another question. So like I said, this show is a combination of all the questions I have received over the past year on networks. This gentleman wanted to set up a guest wireless network. He was using an Airport Express, but a lot of routers have this capability, and you guys will see it when you're setting up your router. It'll say, hey, do you want a guest network? And so he said, I turned on my guest network because I thought this is great. I can have all my guests that come over. They can get on my Wi-Fi. They can have internet access, but they can't access any of my stuff that's connected to my main wireless, which is true. He is right. So if you guys have a main wireless, so in my apartment, I have a main wireless. So that is where all of my stuff is connected. But I also have like hard drives connected there. I have stuff that I don't want people who come over to have access to. So you can set up a guest network, which is fantastic. The only thing I want to tell you guys about setting up a guest network is a lot of people, when they set up their guest network, they don't put a password on it because they're like, oh, well, if people come over, I want them to just be able to hop on my guest network. And if everyone had the best intentions in the world, that would be fine. But I would strongly encourage to put a password, just a basic one. Put a basic password on your guest Wi-Fi, one that you can don't use the same password as your normal network, but just use a generic password. Blue, red, something just very generic that you can give your guests when they come over. And the reason is because you got to remember that when people are connecting to this guest network, although they can't see the other computers on your main network, they're using your internet speed. And if they're watching videos, if they're doing stuff, it's going to slow down your internet. Now, when there's guests in your house, I hope, but what you don't know is if there are people, maybe the neighbor next door, maybe if you're in an apartment complex, a ton of people next door. If you have this guest network without a Wi-Fi password on, they can get on that guest network and use your internet, and you guys might actually experience really low internet speeds. Or if you guys are in a market where you have a capped data limit, if you can only use 250 gigs per month, if everyone around you can access this network, then they're going to go through that cap like really fast. And so when you guys are setting up these guest networks, they are great things. They are really good. Set one up. I highly encourage it. But make sure you put just a simple password on it. That way no one that lives around you, neighbors, pesky people who are in your yard that you don't know, that way they can't access your internet. Only the people that you want to can access your internet. And so that's just the one thing I wanted to say about guest wireless because I thought it was really important. And I'll admit that I learned this because I did it myself. When I set up my first network, I had the thing of, when people come over, I want them to just be able to hop on. And that is when I learned that I should probably put a password on my guest network. The next thing is someone sent in a question wondering what all this talk about dual band routers is. So we're going to go back to the routers for a second. And if you have an 802.11n router or one of the newest AC routers, you have the option for what's called dual band. And what dual band means is that it broadcasts on the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum and also the 5 gigahertz spectrum. Now, both these spectrums have their pros and cons. Some travel through walls better, but some have better speeds. If you have dual band, turn it on and just let your router take care of it. That's usually what I suggest because without getting into the nitty-gritty details, it's a good thing. But make sure, a lot of times people say, 5 gigahertz is faster. I'm just going to turn that on and turn off 2.4. But some really old devices can actually only connect to the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. And so you want to make sure both of them are on if you have the possibility of using older devices. It is true that 5 gigahertz is going to be a little bit faster, but it's also true that 5 gigahertz doesn't travel as far as the 2.4. And so if you have a big house, your 5 gigahertz spectrum might not cover your whole house where your 2.4 gigahertz spectrum might. But in a nutshell, the thing that you guys need to worry about is if you have dual band, just turn it on. It's a good thing. It'll help your data speeds. It helps out your network. and it's overall a good thing. Someone was worried about turning it on, but there's nothing to worry about. You can turn on dual band without worrying it's not going to do anything bad. And so the next step, so we've gotten our network, we've gotten our router and stuff like that, but sometimes what we want to do, and this is where it gets a little bit technical, is sometimes we want to be able to access certain computers on our network. And so, for example, I have an Xbox that I want certain traffic on my network to go straight to my Xbox. I don't want it to pass through anything. I want it to go straight to my Xbox. And for example, because Xbox connects to Xbox Live, which is the internet, and it's a server that runs out by Microsoft somewhere. And so, but Xbox Live service, when you're talking about network coming in, all the internet traffic that comes into your modem and through your router goes on different ports. So different sort of traffic goes through different ports. Web traffic, anything you do on the web through your browser, anything like that, comes through a certain port. Anything you do like VNC, or if you do an FTP server, those all come on different ports. And so it's just a way your router can kind of tell what sort of traffic is coming in. But basically, Xbox Live has certain ports it uses to distribute its service. And so when those are coming in, if my network is blocking out any of those ports, I'm not going to have a really good experience. And so the thing I want to talk to you guys about, and because there's a lot of questions out there because people see it and they hear about it, but they don't know how to do it, it's called port forwarding. And so what port forwarding does is it pretty much, I go onto my router, this is on your router, you will log in, and usually depending on what router you have, it's kind of worded differently, but what it's called port settings or port forwarding. And what it does is it says, hey, whenever any traffic comes in on these ports, send it straight to this machine on our network. But the first thing we have to do, so that is what port forwarding is it takes those packets and sends those packets directly to this computer and this computer only. And so that's what I do. I have port forwarding set up to send any traffic that comes in on the Xbox Live ports straight to my Xbox, and it helps out your network a little bit. But the thing that goes on with that, so that's port forwarding, and whenever anyone tells you about that, or if you read online, to increase your experience, you might want to open these ports, is what it usually says. You need to open the ports. That's what they're talking about. To make your whole network life easier, though, if you want to get really nerdy with your network, and it's a lot of fun, but it really will save you a lot of time in the future, if you are constantly accessing your network, if maybe you're sending files to different computers, stuff like that, I would highly suggest setting up DHCP reservations on your network. And so what that is all it does is when you have that incoming traffic, your modem has one IP address. Your IP address is pretty much, think of it as your home address. It is a specific address only for you, and all internet traffic that's coming to you comes through your modem to that one IP address. Now your router, the way IPv4 works is that your router creates its own little mini network. And so this is why your computer can't talk directly out to the internet. It has to go through your router to your modem. Because what your router does is it'll set certain IP addresses for your computers inside your network. But those aren't visible to the outside. Outside people on the internet can only see your modem's one IP address. And so what your router usually does is it assigns, so let's say I have my laptop. When I open up my laptop and I connect to my wireless network, my router gives my computer its own internal IP address. It says, okay, any traffic that needs to go to Mike's computer, here's the address for it. Here's where I'm going to send that traffic. But what happens is that every time I disconnect or connect to the network, that router is going to give me a different IP address. And so if I'm trying to access this computer from a different computer on my network, I have to go check what the IP address is, and if it changed, I got to make sure I don't close out of that computer so the router doesn't assign it a new IP address. But the way around this is a DHCP reservation. And so what you do is you go into your router and you enter the MAC address, the MAC address of your computer. So on most of your devices, you can find this in the settings tab under networking, stuff like that. You can usually find out where your MAC address is. If you just Google how to find MAC address on iPhone or how to find MAC address on this, you'll be able to find it. So it's going to be a hexadecimal little number. And what it does is you say, hey, router, for this MAC, because each individual device has its own unique MAC address. No two computers have the same MAC address. And so when you enter that MAC address, you say, hey, when this MAC address connects to the network, give it this IP address. Basically what you're saying is give this computer the same address every time it connects, no matter what. So anytime this computer opens up, give it that IP address. And if you set it up correctly, no two computers will ever get the same IP address because you entered in different IP addresses. So for example, I have tons of devices that connect to my network, and there's a lot of times that I want to connect to those devices. And so when I went into my router, I got all my IP addresses, I wrote them down, I said, here's the MAC address of my iPhone, here's the MAC address of my iPad, my laptop, my iMac, my Raspberry Pi. I got all those MAC addresses, went into my router, and I put all those in and gave them their own IP address. So now when I need to access that computer, I know every time what my iMac's IP address is because I set it that way, and my router holds it. So the reason I talked about this is because when you port forward, you can port forward certain ports to a certain IP address, not MAC address. And so when you forward those to a certain IP address, you need to make sure that that IP address is staying the same. So when I talked about my Xbox, when I port forwarded those ports to my Xbox, I need to make sure that that Xbox has the same address every single time, and that's what the DHCP reservation does. Is it pretty much says this Xbox is going to have the same IP address, so now my port forward is always going to work correctly. So sorry for that little tangent. I know that got really technical, but you'd be surprised. I know a lot of you are like, man, why is he talking about this in so much detail? But there are a lot of people that were wondering what the internet means when it says open ports or do this or do that. And so I just kind of want to give you a broad, general sense of what this is. Obviously, I'm trying not to get too technical on you. But so the next thing, one of the last things that I kind of want to talk to you guys about is you guys might be hearing about IPv4 versus IPv6. What are they? First of all, let's just talk IPv4. IP stands for Internet Protocol. Basically, when all these devices are connected to the internet, if you think of the internet as a massive network with all these roads and ways of getting to certain connections, if you think of every computer as a building in a city and you think of all the roads and all the paths you can take to connect, pretty much IP, Internet Protocol, tells each device, how to get traffic from one area, one computer to another. So every time you guys access a website, you send out and you are pretty much creating a little road to the server where that website's at, and then it's following that back, and it knows to come back to your computer because of where the IP address is. But pretty much what IPv4 is it is the IP address that you are getting. And so do you remember when I told you guys that your modem, for your home, is only getting one IP address normally? Normally, you are only assigned one IP address. Now, businesses and servers and all that, they get tons of IP addresses. But usually for a home setup, and that's what we're referring to right now, you get one IP address. Now, the reason that we have gone to this only one IP address per home or per area is because we're running out of addresses. So IPv4, they're 32-bit little addresses. So like I said, think of your home, think of your actual physical address, think of that in IP form. So your IP address is your unique address. And if you think of all the people that we are getting on the internet nowadays and how many devices we have connecting, we are running out of IPv4 addresses. Because 32-bit, if you think about it, that just means 2 to the 32nd power. That's how many combinations of different numbers you could have. And so there's only about 4 billion IPv4 addresses, which you guys might think, oh, that's a big number. But if you think of the entire world and how many people we have connected to the internet, it's not many. So what we've had to do is, this refers back to when I talked to you guys about your router, creating a little personal network, and you have little internal IP addresses for each of your devices. But those IP addresses, those aren't seen by the public. And so basically that's what IPv4 is. It's a way to assign IP addresses to these people. But now you guys are starting to hear about IPv6. And so what IPv6 is that is a 128-bit, so IPv4, 32-bit numerical address. So it only uses numbers. IPv6, the address it assigns to a device, is 128 bits, and it's hexadecimal, meaning letters and numbers. And so there are, I honestly can't think of what the name is for how many addresses this would give, but a lot. And so what they are trying to do is they're trying to implement IPv6 around the world, and they're trying to, basically it's going to be a smooth transition. It's going to, because the internet's growing, we're not going to see less numbers of people on the internet, we're definitely going to see more. And so when you're going through this, when the internet's rapidly growing, IPv6 is going to give us the addresses we need. For every person now that accesses, you're going to have an address. Now, the thing with IPv6 is that it works differently than IPv4. Without getting into too much of the nitty-gritty details, pretty much since IPv6 has a massive amount of addresses, enough to handle all the different devices, what IPv6 does is each individual device gets its own IP address that can be seen by anyone else. Meaning my iPhone will now have an IP address. If when I do IPv6, it could get an its own IP address. It's not connecting to my router and using my modem's IP address. It's using its own. And then at that point, your router is pretty much a firewall that's protecting you against bad data. It's not distributing out IP addresses like it is now. So that is the main difference between IPv4 and IPv6. So now when you are reading those forums or your tech guy at work comes up to you and they start mumbling about IPv6, you can be like, hey, I know about that. I know that my device is going to have its own address now. And there's a lot more details. If you guys want to know, or if you guys want to nerd out with me on IPv4 versus IPv6, it's something that I'm looking into a lot right now. I'm actually converting my entire home network to IPv6 because it's going to help out the internet. It's a good thing to do. If you guys want to do that, feel free to email me, mike@uyghurtech.com, or tweet at me, and we can completely nerd out over that. It'd be a lot of fun. That's really all kind of the home networking stuff I wanted to cover. And I'm sure there's stuff I missed, and I'm sure maybe I didn't answer some of your guys' specific questions. If you guys have specific questions, email me, mike@uyghurtech.com, and I would love to answer your guys' questions. And so if you guys are experiencing slow speeds, if you guys can't figure out why something's happening on your network, email me and let's try and figure it out. Or now you can head over to uyghurtech.com and look at the social links and go to our Google Plus community or our Facebook page, and you can post questions there and other people can help you out. There's just a lot of cool new ways to contact me and contact the Uyghur Tech Network and use me. I know that sounds awful, but I love answering questions and I love implementing the questions into the shows, but also personally responding to you guys. One final thing I want to let you guys know is that my links on my website are kind of updated. And so if you guys are trying to find something, if you guys are trying to find the Google Plus page, if you guys are trying to find my Amazon link, stuff like that, I tried to be as simple as possible. If you guys go to uyghurtech.com/Twitter, it's going to take you to my Twitter page. /Facebook will take you to the Facebook page. /Amazon will take you to Amazon. I tried to make those links as simple as possible. So I really kind of toned them down and simplified the links. So if you guys are trying to find something, then that is probably where you're going to go to do that. Next week, I am going to actually try and have live audio available. I had one person in the past few months, so it might not be used by a lot of people, but I had one person tell me I'm driving when you do your broadcast. Usually I travel a lot, I'm driving, and so, but my network on my cell phone, I can't load your video because it's obviously too much bandwidth. I would love to have an audio-only version of your show streamed live. And so I found a solution for that. I'm going to be using Mixler. But more will be out on that next week. So next week, there will actually be a link. If you guys just want to listen to audio, if you guys want to put this on your phone, or if you guys just don't want to watch, but you guys just want to listen, you can still listen live. And I will have that put on my website. It's actually already up there. I think it's uyghurtech.com/audio. And that'll be where the live stream is. I couldn't get it up and running tonight because of the limitations of my mixer. So I had to get one more cord in order to make all that work. But that is the update there. So if you guys weren't watching this live, for those of you watching live, thank you so much. I love the chat room. I love you guys being active. But if you guys were not watching live, this show is streamed live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. That's 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you're in the mountains, it's the hour in between. It's at 6. So you come out and go to uyghurtech.com/live and join us. I love having you guys in the chat room. I love you guys being here. It's a lot of fun. But if you guys don't want to watch this, I totally understand. This is a long time to sit and watch a YouTube video or wherever you're watching this. I highly suggest you guys listen to this in podcast form. If you guys haven't ever done a podcast, try it out. Get the free podcast app on whatever device you're using and search for me, and you guys can find my podcast, and it's just in audio form. It's a lot better way. That is how I consume. I've told you guys this a lot of times. That's how I consume all my news. That's how I get all of my stuff. I listen to a million podcasts, and I do it while I'm out driving around because I don't have an hour to sit in front of my computer and watch someone, but I do have a lot of time in the car, and so that is when I listen to my podcast. That's when I get caught up. So I would take no offense if you guys did not watch the video version, if you guys listen to the podcast. All of that information, uyghurtech.com/subscribe. You guys can find all the links to YouTube, to iTunes to subscribe to the podcast, to the RSS feed. So in some podcast app, they just want the straight RSS feed. I have the link there for that. All of the information, wherever you can find me, is over at uyghurtech.com/subscribe. So check that out. The one final thing I want to talk to you guys about is, I haven't mentioned it in a while, is if you guys want to give back to Uyghur Tech, if you guys want to support me, I do have a Patreon page. And so patreon.com/UighurTech, patreon.com/UighurTech. That is a place that you guys can go and you guys can donate to me on a monthly basis, $1, $5, whatever you want to do. I love my patrons. I have 2 right now, specifically Janda. I'm going to throw a big shout out to you because you're awesome. And so I love all my patrons, and you guys do get some VIP access to me when you are a patron. You guys get a special email address you can email and some other perks like that, even some Skype access, whatever you guys need. I love my patrons, so I help them out. I love all of you, and I'll definitely email you guys back, but they do, if you are a patron, you do get VIP access, quicker email responses, and stuff like that. So check that out. One final reminder, last thing before I end the show, is I am still doing my Apple Watch giveaway. So, and technically it's a $350 Apple gift card giveaway. And so I haven't had too many signups yet, and I'm kind of surprised, but we need more people. I have 13 people signed up right now. I need 100 in order to get the giveaway done. And so even if you guys don't want to join, tell some people. If anyone wants a chance to win a $350 Apple gift card, and I know you guys do. You guys, who doesn't want a $350 Apple gift card? Head on over to UighurTech.com. I'll put it up here. UighurTech.com/giveaway. All the instructions, all the stuff are on that page. Just follow those instructions, and you guys should be able to find it all and do it all, and it'll be great. So spread the word about the giveaway because it ends next Monday. So next Monday at 11:59 p.m., which is the 22nd of September, that is when entries close. But we need 100 by then, and we don't have them yet. So try and get those in. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Email me your questions. Let me know what you think. Connect with me on Twitter. But until I see you guys next week, tech on.